March. It's what was I reading this morning? Meteorological. I can't talk yet. Apparently, spring. So we made it to March. That means around here, well, we've had wildflowers blooming for a while, but we are having quite the early wildflower bloom. Sorry, something sticking out from under my desk. All right. I'm Paula Montgomery from Desert Cat Creations, and I want to welcome you to week 9 of our 2026 Bead Stash Challenge. Today we're going to draw to see what we're going to make this week. So every week we draw cards on Sunday, and then we make the project live on Thursday. The reason we don't make it live today is because I have to go through my bead stash and find the components that match the cards so that we can make our project together. Because otherwise it would take me a while to go through and find some of this stuff, okay? So, but I am going to make a quick project today. We're going to make a pair of earrings, and then I'm going to ask for some opinions, assuming some of you join me. On the earrings, you know, it's just a quick pair showing you how to use, like, lampwork glass that has a large hole in it, because sometimes, you know, you don't want your beads to be bouncing around. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, okay? If you haven't already, I want to remind you all that we have our limited edition bunny set for this year. Goodness sakes, I have to drop these today, so just wait until we start making things, okay? These guys are copper and white. They are not clear, but they're still sparkly. So if you're interested in those, the pair bunnies are $15. If you want them early enough before Easter, you want to get your orders in this week, because I am going out of town at the moment. I will say that the world events are impacting parts of my trip, so at the moment, at least the first part of my trip is still happening, and we're still planning on going. Second part has been canceled, which means you'll get to see me sooner than you would have otherwise, I guess. A little disappointing, but, you know, safety comes first, right? So anyways, let's go ahead and get started since we started a little late. And we will start with drawing our cards. I know you guys can't really tell unless you get the, you know, quick glance at my workspace that I have been working on cleaning up my workspace. Or cleaning up the area around my workspace. So, all right. So, like I said, every Sunday we draw for our Bead Stash Challenge. So, Bead Stash Challenge is a series of card decks. Now, the only full-size deck, 52 cards, you know, normal bridge deck, is our deck 1, which is a general deck, and it's designed to help you, you know, if you're overwhelmed because you have a stack of beads, or you just got your monthly bead thing or whatever, and you don't know where to start. We have make cards. So make cards help you decide what to make. Now, I have cards from all 5 of our decks mixed in together. So not every deck has make cards. Our color deck does not have any make cards. However, I guess the rest of them have at least a few. All right. We also have a non-jewelry and findings deck. So the color deck adds on to this and helps you, shake up the colors that you use in your projects, because otherwise we all tend to use our favorite colors. So if I didn't have that deck, everything I made would be this color scheme. Yeah, maybe. I do use a lot of purple because I have relatives who love purple, so I do make things with a lot of purple. But other than that, I wouldn't use a lot of the other colors. So that helps you use a variety of colors. The non-jewelry and findings deck helps you make things like non-jewelry items. It doesn't tell you to make a bunny, but it does tell you to make things like a keychain or our bracelet helper that we made last Thursday. those kind of things are in our non-jewelry and findings deck. And sometimes it has you make your own findings. But it also helps you use a variety of findings because, again, otherwise you would just go to your default and do that. We also have 2 themed decks, which, you know, just help you have a little fun. We have a Sun and Sea deck, which is all things beachy, summery. So it's time to start thinking about all those beach designs and those vacation designs, right? And then the last one is our Desert Southwest deck, which kind of features everything that happens kind of down here in the Desert Southwest. Okay. So we, you know, it has things with Arizona, New Mexico, parts of California, parts of Texas, Colorado, Utah even. Anyways, all those things are featured in that deck. All right. Now, technically, you could use the Desert Southwest deck or the Sun and Sea deck by themselves, but you just have a very limited number of cards. Each of those decks is like 38 cards, including the cover. So, and that just has to do with how they charge me on printing. I want to make sure I get my money's worth. So, anyways, what are we going to make this week? We are going to make a pendant. All right. So let's see what we're going to pull out of our stash to use in it. And so those of you watching at home that don't know, so this is the size of the pile you get if you have all the used cards from all 5 of those decks, because we just flipped them over. So they are all in play now today. I did shuffle these up real well, so I'm only going to attempt to, because it's a lot of cards to shuffle together here. All right, so what are we going to use with our pendant? We are going to use carabiner clasp. So obviously we're going to make a necklace, or I don't know, we may use the clasp to attach our pendant to a chain, right? We're going to use turtles in our design. So the turtles are from our Sun and Sea deck, I will say. And we are going to use yellows. So we're going to have a nice spring. We're going to have a nice spring design here. Okay. It looks like. All right. So again, the used cards are what you're going to pull out of your bead stash to use in your project. Now you can pull as few or as many as you want. So you could pull just 1. You could pull 5. I like 3. I think it's a good challenge with 3. Okay. So the last decks we have are what we call our challenge deck, which we, so if you have all 5 decks, this is the pile you would have -1 because we flipped these over last week. Okay. So the challenge cards are either, it'll be like a design aspect that you have to do. It'll be some sort of theme that you need to incorporate in your design. So it's just something to shake it up a little bit. And I will say, you know, depending on your personality, so sometimes the challenge cards could be like, I don't want to do that. It's not something I want to do. Which actually means it's pushing you out of your comfort zone, which means your design creativity is going to, jump in and be engaged. So that's actually a good thing, right? But other times it kind of helps focus you because, like, move my bunnies aside. Here I'm a little bit focused because I have a turtle, I have a pendant. But if you drew like all colors or something, you wouldn't necessarily be really focused in on anything in particular. So, all right. So our pendant or our overall project. So if you make something like a pendant, you can choose to incorporate it with the rest of these items to make, a necklace. But you don't have to. You could make just a pendant that included all these things. So it works either way for you. But my overall design has to be inspired by a ship. So, this can be anything to do with a ship, right? It could be color, it could be, you know, you could have an anchor in there somewhere. You could have, you know, ships are in water, so you could use the colors of water. So anyways, think about that. You know, these design cards can be reflected by, like I said, colors. It can be reflected by objects, anything that has to do with the ship. Okay. So that's what we are going to make on Thursday. Move these guys out of the way. My used cards don't all fit in my little holder. When they're full, there's too many of them. And yet I'm thinking of doing some more decks for you guys. So what do you think about that? Anyways, all right. So Thursday, we will make a pendant. We'll use a carabiner clasp. We will use turtles. We will use yellow. Yellow is not, you know, a color that I use often. So, and we will design something inspired by a ship. Okay. So Thursday, 12 o'clock Mountain Time. And this is our last weekend before you guys all go on daylight savings. So just a reminder, starting next weekend, my 12 o'clock will be an hour earlier for everybody, right? So you guys spring forward. Yes. So my 12 o'clock is an hour earlier for all of you. All right. Alrighty, let's see what we've got here. So I have been asked to come up with some purple designs for one of my customers, for her sister. And I really don't know much about the sister, and she didn't really know if her sister wore long things, short things, whatever, but I told her I would just make a variety of designs and that she could choose from what I had. Okay. So I was thinking I would make something with these lampwork beads. These are from Grace Lampwork Beads. They're kind of fun. They have little symbols on them. I do know that the sister, you know, she likes animals and she's a social worker. So I don't know. That's the limit with what I know about her. Okay. So, but we might make, I don't know. I might add some beaded ear wires. So we'll see how that goes. But all right, back to the lesson for the day. So if you use these kind of beads, so it has a large hole. So this hole is plenty large to put, I think 2mm leather through, right? So if you just put it on, this is some 20 gauge wire here. Your bead is going to kind of bounce around if you just did that, and you would have problems with it going up and down between your, whatever you're stringing it on, right? So what I recommend doing is putting something next to it. Now you could do a flat spacer, or in this case I have some small round ones, but you want something that'll fit into that hole a little bit, right? And if you put something on both sides, now the bead can't bounce around. You can lock it in there. Bead caps don't necessarily work. Now they do sell, I think Tiara Cast makes them. I bought them through other people, but you can get these little kind of bead cap looking things, though, that do have a little metal piece that fits down in the bead. So another option is you could take some small seed beads that fit in that hole, and you can put them in there and just fill the hole. That way it also doesn't bounce around. So if you're using bead caps, I would consider like filling this with some smaller beads. But we are just going to use, like I said, either a round spacer bead or what am I trying to say? Like a triangle shaped, or my brain is bicones. Bicones are good. Okay, so any of those, I have like some flat beads that are a little bit rounded on the sides. They're really great for putting on the sides of these. So anyways, so I thought, these have kind of like swirly designs, so I thought hanging a little swirl down from them, they'd be something a little dainty, something small, so it'd be fine for work. All right, so let's go ahead and make one of these. All right, so all right, let's make sure, in this bead, I don't think there's like a top or a bottom to the bead, so these beads don't match exactly, but they coordinate, so that's good. So again, we're going to put that on there, and I am going to make a loop at one end that's going to attach to the ear wire, and then the other end's going to attach to this dangle. Let's see if I can zoom in just a little more. All right, so I think I'm going to make my loop that attaches to the ear wire first. So again, we're going to do our 90-degree turn in our wire. I'm using Soft Flex 20 gauge here. And I will, partly I'm using it because that's what I'm going to make the ear wires out of. Okay, so I don't need to really do much here. Hey, Lorraine. Hey, we're doing pretty casual today. I drew my cards, and now we're just making a pair of earrings. I was explaining that I have a customer who wants something for her sister, but she's not really sure what she wants, so I'm trying to make a variety of things in her favorite color, which is purple, which is easy for me because I have a lot of purple in my stash, because my I have a couple of family members that love purple. So all right, now we're doing our 90 degrees again, and now I'm going to make the loop to attach this little guy on. Just one's kind of thick, so I'm going to leave a little extra wire on for the wrap, because I may need to adjust my loop size. Okay. All right, so we are just going to slide this right in. You love purple too. I thought you were a turquoise teal girl. Purple's always good. I wear a lot of purple. All right, so we've got that slid on there. It's moving around just nicely, so I think our loop size is good. Now I'm just going to hold on to that as best I can, and we are turning. Now I want to make sure that my bead is in there, again, nice and tight. I don't want it to flop around, but I didn't need all that extra wire. right, so now I'm going to pull out my needle nose and I am going to tuck that in. Now you can use your chain nose, but I love these needle nose for tucking because they're flat and they just somehow the wire seems to move less, right? Okay. Well, they do go well together, so. All right, so now the other thing I have to think about as I'm making this is I want my dangle to be facing forward when they're wearing them. And when this attaches to the ear wire, it needs to be going the other direction. So both of my loops need to be going the same way. So I'm going to turn those so that they're facing the same way. Oh, thank you. It's a Grace lampwork bead, which I have an extensive collection because I've been buying from her for years. I have to like not even stop by her table when she comes here because I'm always tempted. All right, so there we have one of our earrings. So. All right, so let's make the other one. So I was cleaning up my, trying to clean up my workspace a little bit yesterday. Well, the last few days. It's just been out of control, and it still looks out of control. If you weren't me, you wouldn't realize that I had actually accomplished anything. But believe it or not, it is getting a little better. You know, until I get busy again, and then everything's going to just get messy again. But yeah, every once in a while, I just have to do that to kind of clean out my my brain a little. It helps. All right. I think I'm going to do it backwards this time. So I am going to go ahead and put this guy on here. Doesn't really matter which way you do it. The reason I'm switching up is because then I can continue to work off the spool and I don't have to waste wire. Okay. So in cleaning up my desk, I also find, you know, a bunch of things that I've had sitting out here thinking I will make something with them, which I still haven't, but, you know, we'll get there. All right, so we've got our little floppy guy, and now just need to put our loop at the top. I don't worry when I'm making things like this, which direction my loops are going as I'm making it, because I know I can adjust them when I'm done. So, all right, so now since I made this and left it on there, I can just use I don't have to get a second pair of pliers out. I can just pull tight with the spool. All right. So let's get that. Tucked in. Now, if you're ever having troubles with your wires getting a little crossed and when you're trying to tuck them, go in the same direction as the wires wrapping and slowly like bend that end around. It'll help you accomplish that a little more. So let's see, these are actually pretty close to being the same direction. All right, I actually think I'm just gonna make some plain ear wires to go with that. Get my little file out, or my so I can smooth those. All right, so remember, if we're making just simple ear wires, we can make them at the same time. So I cut about 3.5. If I'm not gonna put any beads on them, we'll make 2 ear wires, okay? So all right, and this is a knife sharpener, but it works, or yeah, I mean, it's a sharpener, but it works great for smoothing out those ends. Because you don't want them to be all pokey when you go through somebody's ears. So since what I'm going to do is make the 2 ear wires together. Now, since I have a mandrel, I really can just cut this and do them at the same time. So I may do that so I can or maybe not. I don't know. All right, so I'm bending these wires really close together. And now I can use my 6 size mandrel. So I'm going to stick the end of that where they're together in the middle of my the 2 smallest ones, and then I'm going to use my fingers to bring that wire around. And the reason you want to start in the middle is because then you don't end up with a flat edge. You end up with a circular thing, right? All right, now I want to use the big one to make the loop. I like to bend this up a little so that it looks sort of like an eye pin, right? And then I am going to stick that wire in between the 2 largest sizes on this thing, and I want the opening side to be towards the side I'm going to make the ear wires with. And you could do either. I like to make them big loops, so if you're going to use smaller, you don't need as much wire. And then, like I said, I just gently bring this around. Now, since I'm using a mandrel, these are going to come out with the same size loops, right? All right. So now I can cut them apart. Although, wait, one more. So I do like to put a little kink in the back. Just that kind of helps keep it on your ear, as well as it looks, it's a little design aspect. All right, now I'm going to gently kind of pull these apart with my fingers, and I am going to stick my cutters in there. I don't know why that's very uneven. All right. So this is why you may want to cut them, you know, ahead of time, but there we go. So I have 2 identical ear wires. And I do want to bend this a little more. All right. And bend. All right. Now I do have little nicks on there. That's the only bad thing, which sometimes trying to find my file. There it is. All right. So even though these little nicks aren't going to touch anybody, I'm filing it down just a little bit. Actually, that one, if I use my pliers, it'll flatten that out. All right. One's got a little bit of a point on it. So, you know, it is one way. If you don't have a mandrel, it's one way to make sure that your 2 ear wires end up being the same size. I learned that little trick from taking a class with Sally Stevens. I don't know if you've heard of her, but she and her daughter make polymer clay jewelry now that's beautiful. Back in the day she was doing other stuff, but anyways, and then you'll want to hammer these, or you know, or at least squeeze them with your flat pliers really well. But I'm going to add a little hammering to make sure they don't come unshaped. And you do need to hold on to these, and you want to do both sides so that you end up with, you know, in case you end up with some hammer marks, they end up on both sides. But, you know, you're just tapping real lightly, and this just helps the wire hold its shape. All right. So now we're going to open this loop. And we're going to slip this on, and I am squeezing it and moving it back and forth until I get that circle to fit snugly against there, because you don't want your earring popping off the hook. I hate it when that happens. All right, so since these little swirls go in opposite directions, I do have to think about it when I put my other one on, whether I want them to face away from each other or in the same direction. I like things to go in opposite directions when they're on my ears, so that I can make them either both point out or both point in. So we do have to pay a little attention here. So I think so that one goes that way. Oh, wait, it looks like I have them both going. the same direction. So what I just need to do is flip this one around. I'm pretty good at seeing patterns, but sometimes it takes me once or twice to put them on the ear wires. So again, then I remember I did it like a jump ring. I twisted it, and now I'm going to twist it back and twist it up tight against that ear wire. And there we go. So we have a pair of ear wires. Sometimes it's easier to see them if I hang them off of one of these earring cards. It's easier to hold on to them, right? All right, woo! So what did we learn today? We learned Paula can't keep things on the screen, which we already knew that, but so it was just a reminder, if you're using lampwork beads, sometimes they have large holes in them, and it's not always true. It's whatever the glass artist decided what mandrel to put it on. And some, I would say, Grace lampwork beads are almost universally the 2mm holes. A lot of other artists use different sizes at different times. Okay. So we have a nice pair of earrings. Woo. So like I said, the other one thing we learned was to use big holes. You know, put something in it like a bicone or a round, and then as long as you put that in both sides, it kind of locks it in there. And that's true whether you're making a bracelet or a necklace or earrings. And then if you have things that have direction in them, you might want to make them go opposite directions, which is what I prefer to do. But you can make them both go the same direction. Sometimes you have like charms and stuff that are only one-sided, and obviously you have to make those go the same direction. But since these are double-sided, I can make them fit in there nicely. So those are our 2 lessons for the day. Alrighty, so I think that's the end of what I had planned for today. So we will be back on Thursday at noon. Mountain Time. We will be making a pendant. We will be using a carabiner clasp. We will be using turtles. We will be using yellow, and we will design something inspired by a ship. Okay. And like I said, if you need anything from me, I will be. The moment I will be shipping for through Friday this week, and then anything will not be shipped out until after I get back from my trip, which like I said, because of the world events going on, the end of my trip is a little up in the air at the moment. It's looking like I'm going to be back a little sooner than I originally was, but I don't have an exact date yet. Still waiting for the tour company to update our information. But so like I said, if you need anything from me before the end of March, order it this week. I will get it out to you, or headed to you before I leave. And then I will be here Thursday to make our project at noon, and then I will be here Sunday, but Sunday's daylight savings, so for everybody who's not in Arizona or Hawaii, I will be on an hour earlier, or is it an hour later? Let's see, you guys jump forward. I don't know why I always struggle with this, so I will be on an hour later for you, not an hour earlier. So those of you on the East Coast, it will be 3 p.m., not 2 p.m., starting next week for the duration of daylight savings time. Okay. So don't forget that. I'll try to remind you again on Thursday. So I hope you have time to have a creative week. Have a great week. Hopefully you'll get a chance to start seeing evidence of spring no matter where you live, because it's March, so it's starting to be springtime. So I will, which also means is things bloom around here. I had a couple blooms this week. I'll add them to my my wrap up video for the month. But yeah, we've got some flowers and bushes that are blooming right now. It's a little early for the cactus blooming, although one of my cactuses in my yard is a little confused, but and it is blooming right now, but it blooms more than once a year, so it's okay. But I will share those with you, and like I said, I will give you an update on what we're gonna do as far as while I'm gone on my trip. So all right, I will see you on Thursday. Thanks again for joining me. Please like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube. All these videos will be available on YouTube for perpetuity until YouTube changes their policies, probably. But they're only on Facebook for 30 days. So if you can't find something, check there. All of my older videos are there, but the majority of them are last year's, all except for I think the month of March. So, so we're good. All right, we'll see you soon. Bye.